guys, welcome to my channel. I'm the Savvy Daughter. I'm in my tiny house today and I'm going to be talking about a book called Daring to Hope by Katie Davis Majors. Very recently on this channel, my sister and I talked about a book called Kisses from Katie, written by this very same lady. We very much enjoyed making that video and we loved reading her first book. So I decided to go ahead and read her second book, which is called Daring to Hope, and I really love Katie's story. It's just the more time I spend reading about it and thinking about it, God called Katie to do a really amazing and special thing, and so she has an incredible story of faith. Now, if y'all have absolutely no idea who this Katie is that I'm talking about, I'm going to give you a really quick summary of her story. Katie was an American teenager who grew up really close to Nashville, Tennessee. Right after she graduated high school, she moved to Uganda, Africa for 1 year to do mission work for the Lord. But after that 1 year that she originally intended on staying was up, she realized that God was calling her to Uganda permanently, at least as permanently as she could see. And by the time she was 20 years old, Katie was fostering 13 Ugandan girls who didn't have homes and needed mothers. And as the years went by, Katie took steps to adopt all of those girls. Katie has a really special story. You know, God calls all of us to do something, but the reason Katie's story is so special is just because the thing that God called her to do was completely leave her home when she was really young and adopt 12 or 13 children. It's really incredible. So that's kind of where we left off after Kisses from Katie, and Daring to Hope was written after Katie had been in Uganda for several years already, and it's kind of telling the continual story of how she was raising a family in Uganda and how her ministry continued after it began in the beginning with a booming start. Daring to Hope is all about Katie sharing the personal experiences she had in Uganda as the years went by, and how she was raising a family, and it tells a lot of stories about the people she was ministering to. Daring to Hope is mostly about how Katie continued to have growing faith and how she continued to have hope, how her very definition of the word hope changed through what she experienced. I think if Katie could continue to have hope while watching people who were starving like every day and trying to help them, if Katie could continue to have hope in those situations, you and I can continue to have hope today. I want to just kind of talk about a few of the things Katie learns through her own personal experience. One of the biggest things that Katie learned while serving in Uganda and doing the Lord's ministry is Katie thought that in order to glorify the Lord, everybody's story needed to have a happy ending like in a fairy tale. And one of the huge things that Katie learned through helping people who were sick mostly is that God helped her redefine what an actual good ending was. And the truth is, a good ending is what glorifies Him. And God helped her see that stories don't have to be really pretty with a happy ending and a the end to glorify Him. I wanted to read something that Katie said on page 14 that kind of stuck out to me hugely as far as Katie's definition of a happy ending being redefined. Katie said, God began to redefine His language, things that I had once defined in my own. I had always believed that beauty could be found in all things, and up until recently, I thought this beauty was found in a happy ending. I unknowingly believed that God's blessing was evident only when things turned out well, and so I kept asking and waiting for the beauty to be revealed on my terms. I wanted to write the story all tied up nicely with a bow on top. The story with the happy ending that I wanted, pretty and neat and not painful or confusing. One of the huge things that she learned is how God redefined happy endings in her mind. Another huge thing that Katie learns through these experiences is what it means to be a prisoner of hope. Katie constantly had hope. When sick people came to her and asked for help, she had hope that they would be healed. She threw her heart into praying to the Lord, like, please heal this person, please heal this person. She threw her heart into praying for everybody that asked her for help and everybody that she possibly could help. She prayed for them and prayed that they would get better. But sometimes when they didn't, like there was a young woman named Betty. She was 30 years old. She had 5 kids. She was suffering from a complication from HIV. And after a long fight, Betty ended up passing away after Katie and her whole family had prayed for Betty so earnestly over the months. Betty's 5 children were left orphans, and Katie had a really, really hard time understanding why God would take Betty. Katie had prayed so earnestly for so long for Betty to be healed, and then when she wasn't, Katie's hope was broken. One of the things Katie learned is that it hurts to hope sometimes, because when you hope, you leave yourself vulnerable. Like, you're hoping for an ending, but if that doesn't happen, then you get hurt by it. And Katie had to learn to continue to hope again and again and again, even after her hope had been crushed. She said on page 46 what it means to be a prisoner of hope, because she became a prisoner of the hope that Jesus gives, and she had no choice but to return to that hope again and again. Katie said, "Hope is my captor. Hope for the healing of my own broken places, and hope for our lives eternal with Him. Hope that, as Philippians 1:6 says, He who began a good work in us is not finished yet, and will carry it to completion until the day that He comes. And I am a prisoner to the hope that He is coming." Katie is a prisoner to hope because no matter how many times people that she tried to help, like, their stories didn't end happily, she still had to learn to have hope. I think right here, Katie absolutely sums up what it feels like to dare to hope and what the risk is, but also what the reward is. She says, "Sure, daring to hope feels a little too much like playing with fire, especially when we have been burned before. To hope exposes me. It lays me bare and vulnerable because I can't fix this and can't control the outcome. My hope puts me right up next to Jesus, torn open and defenseless, completely at His mercy, completely surrendered." It is hard to hope sometimes because you know that whatever you're hoping for might not happen. But Jesus wants us to hope all the time. He wants us to hope in Him, and He wants us to be captors to the hope that He is coming soon. And He wants us to never, ever, no matter the circumstances, let go of that hope. That is what Katie learned through trying to help so many of these people that didn't make it. And she had to learn to keep hoping anyway and to keep helping the next person. Sometimes Katie would meet somebody special who would become her friend, somebody who was sick, and then that person would die even after months, weeks, a long time of praying for them to be healed. That must have hurt so badly, and Katie expresses that in this book. Sometimes after those people were gone, she didn't handle it the best, but all the same, at some point, she still had to meet with Jesus and keep helping the next person even though she knew it could hurt again. While there were people that Katie tried to help that didn't have happy endings, sometimes there were happy endings. Sometimes people who had terminal illnesses survived miraculously, and sometimes Jesus healed people that by the world's standard should not be alive, should not have lived through whatever illness was plaguing them. But the thing that Katie struggled with the most was learning to keep being steadfast and to keep hoping when God didn't heal those that she asked Him to. So that's what this story is about. And at the end of the story, Katie gets married to a man named Benji, and that's why she is now Katie Davis Majors, no longer just Katie Davis. So Benji and Katie and their 13 Ugandan girls are kind of at the end of this book, and Katie has a son. So God used Katie not only to help so many people in Uganda, but also to be able to share her personal experiences and stories in her books so that so many people from all over the place could hear her story and not only just be inspired by it, but be challenged to live differently. Like this book, be challenged to live in hope. Jesus is coming back one day. We are all prisoners of hope. Christians are prisoners of hope, because we are forever hoping in the day that Jesus will return. He's going to come back to earth and He's going to finish His plan, and it's going to be perfect. So we are prisoners of hope, exactly like Katie. God was in Katie's story from the very beginning, and He used it to accomplish incredible things all over the world. I have been completely inspired by Katie's story and what the Lord did in her life. I hope that you guys were as well. I think that Katie's story can be extremely helpful to us as we remember to have hope in the Lord always. And we remember to have compassion towards other people. And we remember to put others before ourselves. And we remember that whatever the Lord wants us to do, we need to do it. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I hope you enjoyed Katie's story. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.